There exists language in current Iowa law that has been used to compel mixed male-female access to shower and locker rooms, restrooms, and other facilities in public buildings. Should this language be removed from Iowa law and provisions be enacted defining natural sex and gender and mandating facility use based on a person's birth sex?
First of all, David, thank you for this question. I've been looking forward to answering this question as there's been a lot of robust discussion both at the State House and back home on this particular issue. And for my conversations with different folks at the State House and with constitutional scholars and folks that have consulted with people that know a lot more about this issue than I do not believe that taking gender identity out of the Iowa Code would help the problem that we're talking about with gender bathrooms. And so one of the people that I've talked to is the head of the Judiciary Committee, Steve Holt. And Steve is a dear friend of mine, a mentor of mine, and Representative Holt, I would say, is the most conservative person in the Iowa House, most principled person in the Iowa House. And, Steve is a Marine, he's a former law enforcement officer, and again, he served as the Judiciary Chairman for the last 4 years. And so, he has several different ideas of how we can address this issue, but he does not believe taking gender identity out of the Iowa Code is one of those things that would be successful. Obviously, at the federal level, the Supreme Court has looked at this and has not taken up this case. Most notably, we've had conservative justices, as well as Gorsuch and Amy Coney Barrett, that have not chosen to take up this case for several reasons. But I think there's several things that we can do in the legislature to make sure that we can protect our children, protect our young people. One of the things I was thinking about over the past course of a few days was I have 6 nephews and nieces. And they're the world to me. I love them so much. Several of them are school age. They're all under the age of 8. And so, obviously, I want to protect them. I want to make sure that they are safe when they're at school. I want to make sure when they do attend school, some attend Burlington, some attend Notre Dame. So some are private, some are in public. But I want to make sure that they're safe at school. And so any way that we can find pieces of legislation to move forward to protect our children, specifically in the bathroom situation, 100% for. I'm just not convinced that taking gender identity out of the Iowa Code is one of those ways. The other thing I'd like to point out is that I had over half my colleagues in the Iowa legislature that endorsed me for this re-election. One of those people is Dean Fisher. And so Representative Fisher is a friend of mine, and Representative Fisher has spearheaded taking gender identity out of the Iowa Code for the last 4 years since I've been out there. And so again, obviously we don't agree on that issue, but he still endorsed me because he believes that I'm the candidate that is best for this seat. And so I just point that out because it's not just my opinion on this; it's my opinion of consulting other folks, but also having endorsements for people that they're very passionate about this issue as well.
Representative Shipley, same question.
Thank you. Representative Mitchell said a lot of things. Hopefully I can address a lot of them. This is a very, very serious issue. This is, I think, the most important issue and why I'm running for office, is there are a lot of children who are very confused. When I was in high school 15 years ago, life was hard enough as it is. There's a lot of pressure. Puberty is a very complicated time. High school can be a mean place. There are a lot of children that are very confused. They do not know who they are. We have not trained them in their identity. They've been trained to laugh at religion. And if you say, hey, you're created in the image and likeness of God, they don't believe it. They're stuck on the superficial realm, and they think that all that matters is their sexual orientation, their victim status, their gender, which is, in my opinion, totally made up. This word gender identity, when it was added to Iowa Code in 2007, I can definitely say none of the legislators who voted on that had any idea the types of implications we'd see of children perhaps being taken away from parents, the bathroom locker room issue that's spilled over into public pools and is causing, there was a lockout where girls did not want to shower with a particular individual. They had to leave school. So it's a situation where the rights of one person is now superseding the rights of everyone else. I've said that gender identity is a mental illness. When I mention that, it's because what the other side is claiming, they say if there's a young boy, and if you don't let him play volleyball with the girls, that this kid's going to emotionally harm themselves or have suicidal ideations. And I said, if a kid is going to threaten suicide because they can't play sports with the girls, that's not a mentally healthy individual. This is someone who needs a lot of serious love and attention to figure out who they are in the world. There's a lot of complex problems with this. One thing that really upsets the leftists is when you mention endocrine disrupting pollution. So I don't know if Mary LaFrancis is here, but I've had pro-life advocates tell me for 5 or 10 years that all these chemical birth control pills, they accumulate in the water supply. And I had a great conversation with the Iowa Medical Society that if you're in utero and have an exposure to an endocrine disrupting pollution, how could that affect your development? And could that contribute to feelings of confusion and loss of identity when you're in puberty if your body's not actually working right? So this is a life or death issue. We've had suicides in the community, but we've seen it long enough. This gender stuff isn't helping anyone. So I would be in favor of totally removing it from the code. I think it is a made-up thing. I think Marxists have taken advantage of this to destabilize society. They do want to destroy the family. That's why school boards in Iowa now have policies saying that state law prevents them from communicating with parents. I've been very disappointed in Representative Holt, who's never held a subcommittee meeting on this issue at all. So nobody knows what the law says. The lawmakers certainly don't know what it says, and we're not even willing to find out because a meeting might be too controversial, and because the big business get really upset when we talk about some of this stuff, and we don't want to offend the NCAA, we don't want to offend the NLB, so we're just going to force men going into our young women's locker rooms, and we're going to force people walking around topless at the pool, and there's nothing we can do. So we need to have a lot of serious discussion on this. I've been very disappointed. To Representative Fisher, when you asked for his endorsement, I'd be very curious if you shared with him the news article where you talked about how the bills he sponsored would never come to the floor. Because I was told he found that out after the endorsement and might have been reconsidering. So you have had very pointed comments in the past about issues that I've signed on to, trying to clarify what the definition of a woman is. There's a whole segment of Republicans that are too afraid to talk about it because they either surrender to the woke mob, don't understand how severe the issue is. We've been dealing with these issues in Fairfield for a long time, and it's time it ends. It's time you say you're a human being, express yourself however you want, you can have your expression, you can have your identity, but you don't get to force your way on every single other person. We need to have compassion in society. Like I mentioned, a lot of children are really struggling and hurting, and we need to be compassionate individuals. Compassion means to walk with people in their suffering. But it would be a very big mistake, and it's in Iowa law right now, to force people to conform to the suffering. And it's very emotionally manipulative when you say, if you don't accept me and do everything I say, I'm going to kill myself. I was told that by State Senator Zach Waltz. He said, if Republicans talk about this, you're going to cause kids to kill themselves. I said, well, in my community, the kids are already killing themselves. So we need to have a discussion. I could go a lot more into this. I am one of the leading voices on civil rights across the state. I've been studying the construction of these laws and how we can fix it. I'm familiar with the Gorsuch decision on biological sex, but gender identity has no business in Iowa code.